Alright, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Blind Reviews. This season, we're reviewing the MCU because Jake has seen bare minimum Marvel movies. Once again, we're going to start off. What was your expectations going into?
Well, hang on, what movie are we reviewing this week?
This week, if you're following along with us.
Oh my gosh, we're wearing the same clothes as last video. What a coincidence.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
And if you watch podcast 2 of the reboot, we'll also be wearing the same stuff there more than likely. Probably. It's because we're homeless and we have no clothes.
We actually only have 2 shirts to share between the two of us.
This is a film set. That's all
this isn't my house at all.
So this is Iron Man. We're going along in chronological order.
This is movie number 3 on the list.
If you're following along in the adventure, you would know where we are.
Yes.
We wouldn't even have to tell you.
Last time was Captain Marvel, and we're moving on right along to Iron Man. What year did this movie come out, Sims?
I believe 2009.
2000. Okay, I thought it was 2008 because
I think it might be 2008.
Because something on the movie I saw said 2008. Like not in the movie, but like
it might be 2008 and not 2009.
Is that also the year that it takes place? I would assume about 2008, 2009.
Yes.
Or early tens, right?
I'm thinking so, because like most Marvel movies, they say like present day, but I don't know if that one said this, but I would think.
Well, with the technology, it seems like it's present day or present day for 2008. Because you look at the phone that Tony has; he doesn't have an iPhone 4. He's got kind of weird looking phone. It almost looks like a BlackBerry or old school BlackBerry that. I don't know if that was BlackBerry that would slide up. I know that it had the little trackball.
He probably developed his own phone.
To be honest, he probably did. I mean,
there's no telling.
He is Tony freaking Stark.
Dude, anything he wants,
he's got.
He buy it. He buy it or he makes it.
So, I'm beginning to understand why people think that Captain Marvel is a weaker entry in the Marvel movies. And that is because I was absolutely blown away by the first Iron Man movie. I think, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now, currently it is my favorite Marvel movie. Right now, it is currently my favorite. And that trumps out Guardians of the Galaxy, which is one of the only one of the only few
other ones you've watched.
Yeah, but it is my favorite.
I will say, like, I'm probably going to be biased because, like, Iron Man is one of my favorite Avengers.
Right.
So I'm going to try not to let that bias lead into this video. Like, I try not to show how I didn't like Captain Marvel. But I will go ahead and say Iron Man is one of my favorite Avengers.
So far, not necessarily Iron Man himself, but just Tony Stark is what made me love Iron Man. Now, his personality in the beginning isn't really the best, but, like, after coming back from being captured, just his one-liners, just the comedy that he has of just like he's real punchy with his one-liners. I absolutely love.
It definitely is like a smart ass character.
Yes, and I love that about his character. It's so great.
Yeah.
And I think Robert Downey Jr. just brings that character to life. He embodies Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I agree with. I believe that there's a quote from Stan Lee, obviously, who has passed away, that Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Tony Stark.
And it feels like it.
It honestly does. I don't know anything about him from the comics or anything, but I feel like just a rich, basically spoiled rich kid that has never been told no in his life that is being a superhero now.
Like, he inherited everything from his dad.
Right.
So, like, anything that his dad had,
he automatically had. Like I said, definitely born with a silver spoon in his mouth from the get go.
Small loan of $1 million.
A lot more than a small loan of $1 million. I mean, there's that scene where Pepper tells him that there's something he needs to buy, and she thinks it's severely overpriced, and he's like, "I want it, I need it, buy it and store it." It's like, okay then.
I don't want to do anything with it.
Just buy it and store it. Yeah.
So what was your
recap?
Well, no, like, what were your expectations?
Okay.
Do you have any, like...
I have seen Iron Man 3. That is one of the few, and the only reason I've seen that is because one day at school, our teacher broke out the smart board. I mean, it's already out, but we watched a movie just one time when I was in ninth grade, I think, and it just so happened to be Iron Man 3. Don't remember what happened in that movie at all, but I remember the scene of him jumping from suit to suit while he's flying and everything. I remember that scene. So I know basic premise, he's the Batman of the Avengers. He's he's the rich guy that has no powers other than his money is his superpower. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I really didn't expect what I got because honestly, I thought that he had already, like, he was just secretly building this suit and everything. I thought is what I was expecting, and I honestly thought that he was a good guy to begin with. But at the beginning, he's very much, he's very much for stepping on the little guy. Yeah, like it does not bother him. His character. You see a huge character development throughout the movie, and I love that. And as we'll get into, a very traumatic event could definitely cause, I wouldn't say forced character arc, but I mean, it causes a change in character of dealing with the stress and the trauma from that. And to be honest, he deals with it. I love how he deals with it. He just goes home and goes to work. And personally, man, I'm really going to get into my type of trauma stuff. That's honestly how I deal with trauma and things of, I just focus in and I focus in and work on something. I focus in and I channel it into work. Yeah. So that's something that I've always done, like either working or video games, and that's kind of the two things that like I push. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna worry about this right now. I'm gonna focus on what I got to get done right now, and it kind of drives me to do that. Back because you had so much trauma. No, not at all. That's not. No. I wanted to do the channel back because it just seemed like fun, and it's been a long time, and I feel like it really keeps our friends connected. Because to be honest, we had kind of grown apart a little bit, but that's save that for the podcast. Let's focus on Iron Man. So
once we finally get done talking about gaming news, in an hour, we'll do a special segment.
yeah. So anyway, but getting back on topic, I honestly thought that he was just a good guy and he had just been building the suit to, help humanity, but boy, was I wrong. Yeah. Which he ultimately does end up doing that. Yeah. But, we're ready to go ahead and roll into the recap? Yeah, or? Let's just all right, so for the recap, where are we starting? All right, so it starts off with millionaire playboy Tony Stark, who is the owner and operator of the wonderful Stark Industries weapon company that obviously we know from watching Captain America, Howard Stark's son. And Howard Stark started the business, and Tony was just a prodigy from the beginning. So his parents tragically die in a car wreck. He gets control of Stark Industry, yet I don't think he's old enough just yet to legally own the business. So
until he becomes
21. His father, Obadiah, his father's friend, Obadiah. Is it Obadiah? My wife's over there laughing. What's bad is that I'm a Bible scholar, and
we're adding
Obadiah. I'm sorry. Obadiah. Am I still saying it wrong?
No.
I feel like I'm saying it wrong now. Obadiah takes over control of the company, and until Tony becomes 21. Well, Tony, he's living his millionaire playboy lifestyle, being with different ladies, not what I would condone or recommend. He's doing all this stuff. And then he has a weapon showing in basically the Middle East. I don't know if that's technically what it is, but it's supposed to be the Middle East. He has a weapon showing where he's showing off a new piece of technology. And while he is riding in a Humvee, I'm assuming back to a drop point to be picked up, they are attacked by a terrorist group. And they come in and they kill all of the soldiers that he's with, and he's kind of out fending for himself. And in the midst of that, he sees a missile land right beside him, and on the missile it says Stark Industries. Oh, the irony! And he tries to get away from it, and it blows up, and it ends up injuring him. And this is something that I must have I'm a little confused on. You can clear it up for me. The shrapnel from it entered his body and entered his chest cavity. Yeah. It entered his bloodstream. Is that correct?
I think it's just his
heart,
chest
area. Yeah. And the reason is whenever he wakes up, he has been kidnapped by the Ten Rings terrorist organization, and there is a doctor there whose name I do not recall. That, well, not necessarily doctor. He's supposed to be like a scientist type character. And he puts this device in Tony Stark's chest that basically keeps the shrapnel from entering his heart, right?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
So the shrapnel...
And so it won't enter any vital organs.
Because like, it's an electromagnet that pushes it out, right? That pushes metal out from his vital organs.
Like... So, like, the metal doesn't keep moving ever, like...
Moving it deeper into his chest. Okay, I got you. I thought that it was
kind of like what the missile was like, if it didn't kill you immediately...
It would kill you later.
Going to...
Okay,
because
the shrapnel keeps moving. Okay, I missed that part. I misunderstood that. So, he has this in his chest, and it's hooked up to a car battery, which is hilarious to me, that he has a car battery hooked up to his chest. And they want him to build...
Man, basically a Tesla.
They wanted him to build the terrorist organization. The Ten Rings wanted him to build them a missile, just like the one that he demoed that day. Well, he disagrees at first, and then he agrees to make the missile. But in all reality, he is building the first prototype for the Iron Man suit that he would later improve upon in Dawn. He uses it and escapes and gets picked back up by the military. He comes back to the U.S., and I love, hilariously, he says, the first thing I need is a cheeseburger. That's so hilarious to me. And the first thing he does is he goes to a press conference for Stark Industries, and he shuts down the weapons division of Stark Industries. Immediately hit with backlash and all sorts of things. Obadiah kind of wants him to go in, lay low for a little bit. And in that time, he starts building a new suit. Starts improving upon the prototype that he left the pieces of back in the Middle East. Well, he sees this, he has a successful test eventually after trial and error. And begins making the suit just a little bit better. So he goes to this benefit for firefighters. And while he's there, he is met with the chilling realization that Stark Industries weapons have been being sold to this terrorist organization, which he already knew, because when he was in the encampment, he saw no telling how many Stark Industry weapons that you would assume, I thought, they had taken from the battlefield, that they had stolen or something like that. But no, they have wound up, they have been selling them under the table. Well, he goes and talks to Obadiah about this, and turns out that Obadiah had been trying to take the company from Tony once he came back. So he managed to get the board of trustees to agree, or board of directors to agree to it. They oust Tony, and he has been selling weapons to the Ten Rings. Well, turns out that he has been selling these weapons to the Ten Rings all along, and matter of fact, called the hit out on Tony. Originally, I just thought Tony got kidnapped, but as a prisoner of, a bargaining chip. But no, Obadiah had a hit placed on him. This all comes to a head whenever he sends his assistant Pepper to go get all of the weapons files and everything from his office at Stark Industries, and Obadiah finds out. Obadiah goes and takes the thing out of Tony's chest that he has upgraded to place in his chest to keep the shrapnel away from his vital organs. And Obadiah comes and steals it and uses it to power the prototype that has been remanufactured and re-engineered that Tony originally built. Then he goes and has a final battle with Obadiah, of which Pepper helps him take down Obadiah. And after it's all said and done, he is set for another press release, of which he has an alibi handed to him by the members of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he tells the press that he is Iron Man. And it ends there, of course, with a post-credit scene where then after that, the post-credit scene, Fury shows up and tells him that he would like to speak to him about the Avenger Initiative. And then that is the end. That is my recap.
I was about to say, a pretty good recap.
Thank you.
So, similar questions.
I have my notes written down for this one. I know this is not scripted. I just had some bullet points to organize. To organize my thoughts.
So, similarly, was there any part that was your favorite part?
My absolute favorite part. I do like where he's captured by the terrorists. So, when he's in the camp building the first suit, and you kind of see him do that little smithing. I've seen some people talk about that, like Iron Man smithing scene.
Yeah.
And I saw that scene was very cool. That whole deal. Also, the other one is whenever he is building the whole montage of him building the first suit.
Yeah.
Not the first suit, but whenever he comes back to America and builds the suit and eventually has the successful test. That scene is full of comedy. It's hilarious. It's just really cool. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
The final fight between him and Obadiah is great. That is a really good fight. Of you see just how smart Tony is and everything. Of he's already figured out the icing problem, and Obadiah hadn't even thought of it yet.
Yeah.
Which also Tony had already known about the problem prior.
I was about to say, and I will say that's one thing that, like, with the Iron Man, every time you see Iron Man in a different suit, think about the previous movie and what went wrong with that suit.
And he's already...
I'm not going to, like, say him win that.
Everything that's went wrong, he's improved upon.
But just, like, keep that in mind.
Because I remember
throughout
that being a big selling point for the second movie is that he's got a new suit. He's got a second suit now that he's built more.
Like, obviously, he's going to keep building suits.
Right.
Like,
he's going to keep improving that, because that's what engineers do. You keep
for this
working
one,
on
like
ideas.
you were saying, he knew that there was a problem with icing, so he fixed that.
Right.
And I will say that, like, one of my favorite parts was whenever he makes the first suit in the cave.
Yes.
Because, like, he knew exactly, like, this missile has this much palladium in it. So we need these missiles.
Yes.
Or, like, this one is going to be just enough to build, like, the faceplate. So, like,
also,
and, like, melting it down.
The other part of he's able to make what the doctor or that guy already made, but better with barely any equipment in and that's actually what Obadiah tells one of the scientists that he's trying to get him to reverse engineer the suit. He says Tony Stark made this in a cave with less things than you have available. And then the scientist says, well, I'm not Tony Stark.
Yeah, he was like, "Wait, serious?" But like, that just shows that like Captain America, like he was like, he wanted to defend his country, and like Captain Marvel, she like knew how to fight and was really good with that. Like,
Tony's just smart. He's like, just, I mean, as the movie says, he is a prodigy of his father. I mean, straight up.
Well, like I was saying, like he built a circuit board
at the age of 4.
Like 4 years old.
At the age of 4.
Like.
His first engine by the age of 8 or 9, I think, something like that.
So it's just crazy, like. And
that brings us to my absolute favorite part of the entire movie, and that is just Tony Stark in general. His one-liners, as you said, when he starts out, he's kind of a jerk and just really not a really great guy. But whenever he comes back from being kidnapped, he is. You gotta admit, whenever you've come as close to death as him, you kind of just gotta laugh at life at that point.
That's what.
Not taking anything seriously.
Funny whenever they're in the Humvee, and he's like, "Hey, can I have your picture?" And he holds up a piece on. He's like, "No gang signs."
He's like, "No gang signs." He's like, "No, I'm just kidding." Yeah,
like,
he's just a cool guy.
I'd be out of a job with peace.
Yeah.
And then like he shut down his weapons
immediately.
So,
like, the first thing he does.
Obviously, like he knows. If he shuts this down,
he's gonna lose
out of a job,
and he's
probably gonna lose a lot of money. But
and I mean, like stock dipped 50%. They said,
but he knew that the weapons he was making, his company was making, wasn't being used
for what they were supposed to be used, and that's where his whole character arc changes. Of I feel like if he had just gotten kidnapped and it wasn't Stark Industry weapons, he probably just went back on like, all right, let's pump these out.
Random missile.
It's like let's just pump these out 10 times faster. But the fact that it's his weapons...
this won't happen to anybody else.
Yes, because he even makes that statement. He says, the weapons that I built are not being used to fight the battles that I want them to fight. So I'm going to shut this down because... And that's where you come to the realization that Obadiah had been selling weapons under the table to the Ten Rings terrorist organization.
Yeah. So, countering that, was there any like scene or something that you just didn't really like?
I feel like they didn't play up his... I'm not going to use the language that you use, but you know what I'm talking about. They didn't play that up as much whenever he was...
a better word to use.
Yeah, I can't think of a better word for it. But I mean, he just straight up is. I mean, that's his character, and I love it. He's a likable butthole, basically.
Yeah.
Is what his personality is.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could have played that up, and it sounds terrible. I mean, I know it's a movie.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you want, and I know they kind of want to keep a little serious tone, but whenever he is in captivity, they literally can't do anything without him. I mean, they want him to build the Jericho missile, and if he's dead, he can't do it. So obviously they're not going to kill him until after he builds it.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could have played up that that characteristic a little bit more. It was like, you kill him, like talking about because they were going to kill the guy that was helping him and helped him escape. That put the thing in his chest originally. He said he could have kill him. Really won't build this missile. And, kill me, you won't have it at all.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's not even that big of a deal because obviously he's in shock. Of he could die at any moment from being murdered, or just the fact that the car battery, if he drops it or if it craps out, he's dying.
Batteries do.
Yeah. So I feel like he's more of in survival mode at that point. Of I'm not cracking jokes, I'm not being funny. I just want to get out of here.
Yeah.
I want to go home.
Yeah. And one thing that we both noticed was an inconsistency.
But I blame Captain Marvel for that inconsistency. I blame Captain Marvel. I know chronologically.
I'll say that, and I will say that as you go along, you'll notice that more
of things, small little, little inconsistencies.
Yeah,
the little inconsistency we're talking about is that they refer to Shield in
Captain Marvel.
They call it Shield.
Yeah,
just
because Fury puts on the hat.
Excuse me.
Or no, he gives it to Carol Danvers.
To Carol.
She's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's the Shield logo."
Yes.
But in Iron Man, at the beginning,
they call it.
They don't call it.
They call it by the full name, which is Security of Homeland. I didn't pay attention because I know it's Shield. Because I know it's Shield, and they call it by the full name, and then by the end of the movie, they're calling it.
The very last time they say
it, just call it Shield. And
so
in Marvel, they call it Captain Marvel. They call it Shield to begin with.
The entire time.
So that's just a little inconsistency, not that big of a deal. Like I said, I blame the movie Captain Marvel for that because they didn't catch that inconsistency. Yeah. That's my only gripe. We got our favorite part, least favorite part. Next is
what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Okay, so obviously Tony Stark is Iron Man. He outed himself of that. He didn't go with that. So I feel like obviously at this point we know that Captain Marvel knows who S.H.I.E.L.D. is. We know. Well, Cap hasn't woken up yet. I don't think technically has he. Has Cap woken up yet?
Yeah.
But okay. So at this point, being as though he wants Tony to become a part of the Avenger Initiative, I feel like we start kind of seeing our threads start coming more together if he starts meeting these other superheroes and not pretending to not know that Captain Marvel doesn't show up until Endgame. I would think that we're starting to see threads come together of Fury is the one that brings them all together. So I would expect more S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, learning more about the Avenger Initiative, and I would say Tony obviously working on his suit.
Yeah.
Always striving to improve. I would say that I would see him doing that a lot.
Yeah. So this is one that I forgot to ask during the Captain Marvel one. But is there anything that you're beginning to pick up on, and obviously the Stanley cameos?
Yeah, obvious. Well, I knew about those.
Yeah,
and the post-credit scenes.
Anything that from this movie that you think is gonna show back up later? I know you said Red Skull during Captain America.
I said Red Skull. Obviously, the Tesseract was a big one for Captain Marvel. We didn't say that, but that would be it.
Yeah.
I would say, obviously, Fury is showing up more and more. Mm-hmm. He's at the very end of Captain America.
Yep.
He is in all throughout Captain Marvel. He shows up at the very end of this. I'm starting to tie together that he's the one that assembles everybody, that he gets the Avengers together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else that is running throughout other than the cameos and the post-credit scenes.
And your prediction about the Tesseract?
Yeah, my prediction about the Tesseract was wrong. Very wrong.
The Iron Man suits are not
powered by that. They're powered by the arc reactor that a mini arc reactor that Tony has created, which is really, really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was another scene. I know I'm getting off topic from what we're talking about specifically, but that was another scene whenever he gets Pepper to change out the old core, and she has to reach that. Oh, it just kind of gives me chills.
Like, it's just like Operation.
Oh yeah, that's like don't touch the sides.
Operation is.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I do not know what Operation is.
And I remember watching that scene and like my heart, like I could feel my heart beat in my chest. Like, this makes me uncomfortable to think about shrapnel in your
arc reactor in place of my heart too.
Yeah, that's it's just like it hurts me to think about.
Yeah. It's
but
definitely a weird scene to have to watch.
I feel like that might be something that's persistent throughout the movies. Is that, I mean, if Tony gets hit with an EMP blast, does it just almost kill him, or is the arc reactor immune to that? I feel like it's a little immune to it because arc reactor, I would think that it's got some kind of electrical power running through it, right?
There is
spoiler. There's something like that.
There is some stuff later where like, the arc reactor doesn't act like a heart.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I got you. That's what you're saying. Okay.
But I'm not gonna spoil it.
All right. We're gonna find that. We're gonna find that ourselves. All right. Sounds good.
This adventure along the way of watching all the MCU movies.
All right. So, those are the only things I can really think. Obviously, like I said, that the biggest one being Fury is the tie piece to everything.
Yeah.
There's a fly in here, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Fury definitely is like the piece right now that's like
persistent.
Yeah, you definitely see him a lot more. I will say, like, obviously he's showing up.
Right.
It's not like this is the last time we're seeing Fury.
Right.
And obviously it's not the last time we're seeing the Tesseract. I'll say that too.
I'm assuming, being that it is a Norse artifact, I'm assuming it will have something to do with Thor eventually.
Do you have any predictions? Now that your Tesseract one has been busted, do you have any?
I definitely still think it has something to do with Thor. I think that's why Thor comes to Earth at some point to get the Tesseract.
So is your prediction, you think that Thor comes to Earth for the Tesseract?
I think he actually gets banished, but I can't remember. I think Odin banishes him, but I can't remember. I've never seen the movie.
I just want like a flat out prediction.
I think he comes to Earth for the Tesseract. That's my prediction.
Okay.
I still think he gets banished, but I'm pretty sure that's... I'll make that my prediction so I can be wrong.
Anything else for like Fury or like any of the other previous movies, or like going into future movies? What do you like think or hope to see?
Oh, I'm excited for the actual Avengers movie. That's what I'm ready to see next. I'm ready to see them all on screen together. Because
a little while too.
Ironically, I read something came across on Instagram the other day, and it said that Chris Hemsworth, that's the guy who plays Thor, right? And what is the guy that plays Captain America? Chris Evans said that they were not allowed to do interviews together because they acted too childish when they were together. So I'm eager to see. So if they've got that kind of chemistry in real life, I'm eager to see their on-screen chemistry between their characters and everything. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. That's definitely what I'm ready to see.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll move on to your rating of Iron Man.
All right. I'm ready. All right, cinematography.
I think you need this pen.
No, that's too much pen. All right, so first and foremost, definitely this goes in cinematography. A lot of the shots are beautiful. Like the whole shot where Tony is demoing the Jericho missile, and he just stands with his arms out as, the blast comes from behind him, and he's just standing there as he's demoing it. That's a great scene. I love it.
I like how you can tell how hardcore he is because he doesn't
look at any explosions at all.
Dude,
even whenever he blows up the tank, he turns around and just walking away.
Turning around and walking away, not even looking at it.
All of the shots of him flying in the suit are amazing. Something else I want to talk about: the music that they chose to use. I feel like that just embodies Tony Stark. Yeah. You've got a lot of heavy chugs and like metal sounding just riffs that are coming out just randomly throughout the movie that aren't part of like a song specifically.
I just feel like it shows like how carefree
he is. He's a very carefree person. He's never had to worry about anything in his life. So
yeah. Well, I mean, like whenever he's testing out his suit, like,
Oh
in his
yeah,
laboratory,
like
and like
whenever,
his cars blow up, he's like,
yeah, he's like, oh well, I'll get another one.
yeah.
And then also he whenever he lands and falls through the ceiling and through the second floor,
in the end he flies back through.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
So,
I
like,
love that scene.
Obviously, he doesn't.
And he just moves the car and then flies back out. Also, whenever he's testing the boots, the thrusters, and those, and he activates and just flies and just pegs the wall. It's like, okay,
yeah,
man, just wall. Literally just like looks like forehead straight on the concrete. Yeah. I was like, how are you not okay? How are you okay?
Yeah.
Cinematography, I gotta give it a 10. Absolutely, it gets a 10 for me on cinematography. I think this movie is beautifully shot. I think all of the locations were amazing. Mm-hmm. There's no weird jump cuts.
At least in this one.
Yeah, in this one. I think that the movie is beautiful. I mean, this movie came out in 2008 or 2009.
I think it's 2008.
Sure. It came out then, and it still looks beautiful. I think that this one has been my favorite cinematography wise so far. Just it's shot so beautifully. I can't think of a bad part of the movie. 2008 and this movie still holds up to this day. Great. I think, and like the whole fight scene whenever he goes over in the suit and accidentally I love whenever his friend calls him and he's like, where are you at? He's like, oh, I'm just driving the top down. Oh, sorry, I went for a jog. And it's so funny, later on he calls...
jogging?
Yeah.
While you're driving?
Yeah, no, I'm driving to where I was jogging. Yeah. I also love, he calls me, he's like, okay, it's me. He's like, what? It's me, it's a suit, I'm in the suit. It's so funny. I just love his personality and just the way the whole movie is framed and shot. One of my favorite moments is whenever they bring him out of the cave and, they pull the bag off of his head and there's the effect of just like you've had your eye, like you've been in the dark and all of a sudden the lights turn on, of like you get that bright flash and then everything looks white as your eyes focus back in. That was a great scene. I love the way that scene was shot. So it feels wrong to not give it a 10.
It is. I feel like they knew what camera angles to use and it was like, it just made it better.
Absolutely.
Like even whenever he flies up to the Ferris wheel and he
that was so good. Like that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
It's such a random small detail,
yes,
but it shows how
much they cared
and how much
yes,
how much detail oriented he was focused on this suit to make sure everything was perfect. And
absolutely,
he found one flaw and then he fixes that. And
yes, yes, absolutely. Plot. I think I gotta go with an 8 on plot. Like I said, I don't really like the cliche of, oh, it turns out that, the guy that's basically your uncle is evil,
Yeah.
We've seen it in a lot of other movies. This might have been the first. I don't think this is obviously this isn't the first story to do something like that. But that's the only thing that really knocks it for me is that, that I can't think of anything else that's really knocking it for that other than that. I mean, that's the only thing I'm giving points off for is the fact that it's kind of a cliche thing. It's just a great movie. Just straight up.
I'm trying to think of any holes in the plot.
Other than the shield, which that's only because of Captain Marvel. That's the only reason that it's that there's a plot hole. I can't think of any plot holes either. I mean, I can't come up with anything. And then again, I haven't seen the rest of the movies, but I think it's a great, easy to follow. I would say it doesn't jump at all, hardly. I mean, you're pretty well following Tony the entire time. You're not jumping between. There's one little part where you're following Obadiah, but that's not that big of. I mean, that's necessary. You need that.
I was about to say in the beginning, it starts off as the missile blowing up, and then jumps back.
It jumps back, but I mean, we've seen that done before. I mean, it's just
even that's not that big of a jump.
I mean, it's just it's only 36 hours. It's not like 10 days ago or a week ago. It's just 36 hours of, and I feel like that's a great way because that's one of the things they taught us in school. Whenever writing an essay, if you got to have a plot hook, you got to have something that grabs the viewer's attention, and I feel like that that really grabs your attention. Like,
But
okay,
then
we're
they
starting
start
right here,
to-
man. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Easy to follow. I'm gonna give it. I gotta give it a 9. I mean, it's real straightforward. I mean, guy gets kidnapped by a terrorist organization, breaks out, builds another suit, a better suit, and then because he shut down his weapons part of his company, a corporate sleazebag wants to take it back and take it from him. So I mean, it's straightforward. It's easy to follow. I mean, you know what? I'm giving it a 10. I'm changing it. Easy to follow. It's 10. I mean, I think it's a simple plot.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's really easy to follow. Good origin story. I'm giving it a 10. Absolutely. I'm not being generous either. Like, I honestly love this movie. It has been my favorite one so far. I honestly thought Captain America was going to be my favorite Avenger, but it is right now Iron Man just because of Tony Stark alone.
He's really and like.
What do you think as far as an origin story? Do you think it's a good origin story?
Oh, yeah.
Just
it
like
really
you said, I mean,
like
you were talking about it.
Marvel, like, there is no like questions left.
You see a huge character development and growth.
They don't show like this is what his family life is like, but like
yeah,
because like he wanted to be like his dad.
Yes,
that's why he took over his company.
That's exactly why
he's like, and every time he says he's like, Dad wouldn't want this. Or like
right.
Like with the missiles, like for the terrorists, he's like, nah, like this.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to build this missile. Yeah, I don't want to build it for you at all.
So
he does. Air quotes around does.
Yeah, but like you can just definitely tell that like everything is hit on, even though we don't get like a flashback to like, oh, this is
him and his dad whenever he's a kid.
Yeah,
you know this.
But like
this
you see that from like the opening.
You
like,
see it in the opening.
He was a prodigy.
It's enough.
Like, he wanted to be like his dad. He wanted to like be good for the people, and like,
and he thought that he was. And then whenever he realized he wasn't, he made a change. Instead of being a corporate sleazebag and kept peddling weapons, selling weapons to both sides
to get some money. He could have just kept selling.
A real quick tangent that I want to go off on. Do you remember Ben 10 Alien Force?
Yeah.
There's a scene where Kevin goes to another planet or something with an old friend that he used to hang out with. And there's a red army and a blue army, very red versus blue-esque. And what they're doing is they're going to battlefields and they're scrapping the weapons, and Kevin's painting them red and his friend's painting them blue. And literally in one side, Kevin's selling red guns to red guys, and then his friend is selling blue guns to blue guys, literally funding both sides of the war. And just to make a profit. And see, Tony doesn't want that. That, like I said, real quick tangent on that. But it just made me think that's exactly what Obadiah wanted to do. If as long as there's a conflict, he's making money and getting richer. He does not care who he steps on. Yeah. And that's what the character development from Tony is.
Would have been out of a job with peace.
Yes.
Tony knows that, but he also knows he doesn't want innocent people getting.
Yes, and that's and I think he really sees that whenever the guy that saved his life.
He's like, "Are we for real?"
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm having to make a bomb for the people who kidnapped me.
Yes, who took me hostage.
Yeah.
So
I definitely felt like
you see character development, character growth in Tony Stark. So I absolutely think that it is a great origin story. It shows why he is the way he is. It shows his outlook on the world. It shows how he does just want to help, even though he is a sarcastic piece of garbage sometimes. He's not really a piece of garbage anymore, but it's great.
In the beginning, and he still has like tendencies where like some people come up to him and they're like, "Don't you remember me?" Like,
oh yeah, and he's just like, "No, not really."
Yeah. So like, yeah, they're still like,
he meets thousands of people all the time.
Yeah, he still kind of has like the cocky tendency.
Yes,
but like,
well, I mean, even in the classic meme and scene from the Avengers that I've seen of Loki says, "I've got an army." He says, "Well, we have a Hulk." He's very sure of himself in the Avengers and everything. Mm-hmm. So,
I feel like anytime that he's cocky, he's like,
he can back it up. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not unfounded. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this question before we move on to our next category of realism. Who do you think is the leader of the Avengers? Would you say that it is Tony Stark, or would you say that it is Captain America? Because I feel like Cap should be the leader, And I feel like he thinks he's the leader, but everyone knows that Tony's actually the leader.
This is one of those, like, there is no I in team kind of thing.
But Tony's the one that has drawn team and block letters and colors in the I that's in the A.
But, like, I also feel like whenever you'll watch Thor and you'll see the Hulk movie and, like, how Hulk participates in the Avengers, and you'll be like, then you'll see it then too. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say, like, there is a leader per se, but I also don't want to say, like, they have no leader.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're not like Hydra and Red Skull as their leader.
Yeah.
And, like, once one head's chopped off,
two more grow back.
Like, if you kill Captain America, like,
they're down a member.
Yeah.
And we see that in no.
Well,
not going there. Not going there right now. We got about 10 more movies, and we'll be there.
We're a long way before we get to there.
As far as realism, I've got to give it a 7 because obviously it mimics real life as far as the war effort and everything that was going on there. It very much mimics that of, you have arms dealers that are playing both sides of the war. They're funding both sides of the war. And poor innocent people are the ones that end up having to fight it. There's thousands of songs and web series and documentaries and all sorts of things that show this common struggle. I mean, this in Red versus Blue, it's the same thing. They're just using simulation troopers to fight each other to further their cause for no reason. And you've got just like tons of songs that talk about rich politicians and arms dealers send these people off to war, not fighting their own wars, but sends the common man to do it. So it shows that very much so.
Yeah.
I feel where it lacks is that I honest to goodness feel like Tony wouldn't have made it out.
Mm-hmm.
In real life, I don't think he would have made it out.
I feel like the realism begins to lack whenever, like, he made that suit in a cave.
Well, for obvious reasons that, even in this universe, making that suit in the cave, I feel is kind of a little like, but he is a very bright person. But when I say he didn't make it out, like, I feel like he would have died. Yeah. Like, when the shrapnel went in his chest, he was not going to make it from that. Yeah. But obviously, this is a hero story. He is a comeback. I feel like, obviously, at that point, we could just cherry pick and say that, look at the suit that he's built.
Yeah.
You're gonna count off of that.
Obviously, but I will say that, like, it seemed kind of I feel like it's the part that seems weird to me is, like, similarly to what we were saying about, like, how that spy get into the room for Captain America.
Right.
Like,
you've got to have something to drive the plot.
He was building this suit. They had cameras on him 24/7. Yes. And they never said, man, that doesn't look like a missile.
They do a couple times, but they still let him go. I'm going to tell you, they're not that dumb.
Right, sounds good.
They would not be that stupid, honest to goodness. They're like,
you can obviously see that what he is building looks nothing like the missile that he just debuted.
Yes, absolutely.
I gotta say that's one part that, like, the cave scene, also, it is, like, one of my favorite scenes.
Yes.
But I feel like there is so much there that I
also in that scene where he's literally setting explosives on fire and they don't explode until 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little unrealistic, but once again, action movie and
super movie. Have, like, a fuse or, like, something else.
Yeah, the fuse doesn't work if you light the stick of dynamite itself on fire. It just blows up.
But the metal could be really thick and it can only be off.
Because it's got to be
just plain double.
If it's like an ICBM, it's got to go all the way up and then re-enter Earth's atmosphere, and theoretically, it's gonna pick up heat from that re-entry. So I feel like it would protect. Otherwise, ICBMs would just explode in the atmosphere whenever they get too hot. So I could see that. That's a little bit for it, but I gotta give it a 7 at least. I'll give it that.
I would say that, like, there are some parts where, like, a question, but, like, at the end, like, it seems pretty realistic. Like,
I would say so.
For especially as smart as he was.
Yes.
Like, I feel like he is the equivalent to like Einstein.
Yes, absolutely.
In our world,
I mean, he is
because Einstein could like make atom bombs. He could make like because he was that smart. I feel like that's how like Tony was. He was just that smart.
I feel like he's supposed to be Albert Einstein's son in this sense because that's basically kind of who Howard Stark was.
Yeah, well, they said like Howard Stark brought us the atom bomb.
Yeah, he's kind of the Einstein of which I don't know if Albert Einstein exists in the Avengers universe or in the MCU, but I feel like him and Howard Stark would have been like very close to one another working on the atomic bomb in that sense.
Yeah.
So I think that 7's very generous for it. So last category rounding out accuracy. I'm gonna give it a 7 on that alone. I'm knocking 3 points off because Chase isn't here to tell me. So I'm just going the best that I can. But being that Stan Lee, the creator of the MCU, said that Robert Downey Jr. was made to play Captain America. Now I'm doing it. To play Iron Man and plays him very well. You got to give some style points for that. So that's my final. Who literally
source material
wrote
said that this source material was wrote for you. Like,
absolutely. So with that, my final rating for this. Are you ready? This is the highest rated one we have had thus far. 3 movies in.
And this one's setting a record.
It is the highest at a 52 out of 60. That is the highest rated movie we have had thus far.
So far.
52 out of 60. And like I said, it would be a little bit lower if Chase were here. Because of comic book accuracy.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like we said in this session, he wasn't, able to make it too. So I'm giving it a 52 out of 60. Final score. This so far has been my favorite Marvel movie. I am blown away. I want to say I can't believe and I hate that I didn't get in on these movies as they were coming out. Because I know that as a child, I would have loved this. But then also as an adult, as I go back and like rewatch Star Wars or watch Jurassic Park or the Ghostbusters, I always find something new and something enjoyable, even now. There's so many more things to pay attention to and to watch.
I remember watching these as a kid, but like going back to watch them now, I'm like,
it's even better.
I have so much of a better like appreciation
and understanding for it. So, like I said, I wish I'd been in on it whenever I was a kid, but hey, then we wouldn't have any content. So, this has been my blind review.
We are the opposite of Tony Stark. We do anything for it all.
Yes. This has been Under Controller's my blind review of Iron Man. Please join us next time. We'll be doing Iron Man 2 or the Hulk. We're not 100% sure which one yet. So please join us for that. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. There'll be a link in the description below. Also, I did get our Patreon back on. Please don't sub to us on Patreon yet.
If you want to.
I got to get that sorted out. I'm not sure how Patreon works.
Go
but
for it.
Also, going to plug a few more things. Go back and watch the previous 2 videos on this. Anything else you want to plug? The next podcast that will be, or the last podcast. I'm not sure which yet.
Watch all the podcasts.
Go back and rewatch. Hey, go back to the first video on this channel and start there and work your way back.
Take a little adventure.
Okay, look, I'll be simple for you. Cut out everything that's Magic Monday. Don't worry about it.
Cut out the unboxing adventures.
No, those are good. Cut out
one. The rest you can skip.
Yeah, basically just go watch the podcast. But please join us next time.
Watch Smoothie.
Austin's What Not to Smoothie. It is a great video. And the Gallon Challenge and the Stairwell Olympics. Those are the top 3 videos that we're picking right now. So please go check those videos out. And if you like what you see, subscribe. We got a lot more coming down the pipe. I promise we still are going to be doing some gaming eventually. Just like I said, little bit of financial working out and I will have a PC. So please join us next time. Thank you.
Like and subscribe.